Hello guys, welcome to our channel Anime Fantasy. Join us as we explore the world of anime and fantasy and bring you the best stories and discussions. This is the fourth part of What If Naruto Was an Attack on Titan verse, so give this video a like and subscribe for more videos in future. Hey ninja, what's that? No clue. Naruto listened to their confused chatter with amusement. It wasn't all too strange that they didn't know about ninja. He'd found no mention of anything shinobi related in the library. Naruto noticed Ryanair had stiffened at his words. Does he know what a ninja is? He was about to ask, but the words died on his lips when a sudden rumbling sound reached his ears. Those are everyone get down, he yelled. The instant before the southern wall exploded, wood, stone, and glass was everywhere. In the corner of his eye he noticed one of the trainees, a girl who'd been standing right next to the wall, get flung into the opposite side of the room, breaking her neck on the rough stone. When the rubble still and dust settled, two enormous faces peered in through the hole, both grinning like raised beasts. Teeth bared. The trainees panicked. Jean cursed, there are too many people, hurry inside, run. Where's Mikasa? She crashed back there, she's gone by now. It was pure pandemonium. Naruto grimaced. Using jutsu in confined spaces like these with so many non-shinobi around could be dangerous, but the Titans breached the castle walls, there'd be countless dead. He started a sequence of hand signs, but halted at the sight of an enormous fist crashing into the first titanic head, which crashed against the next, and like that the view was replaced by that of another titan, one with no lips at all, pointed ears, and rippling muscles. Naruto's eyes widened at the sight. What is that? He heard the guy next to him whisper. Jean, if you remembered correctly. The titan let out a primal roar that spoke of seething fury and bloodlust. Then it charged. A titan just attacked another titan next to them. One of the few intact windows shattered, and through it came familiar faces. The first to land was the dark-haired girl who had initiated the charge towards HQ. The bald kid he'd talked to before her came next, carrying a smaller blonde guy in his arms. This one he didn't recognize. Mikasa, Armin, Connie. Jean exclaimed, it's empty. Pawnee marveled at the empty gas tank. We did it, we just barely made it. Jean watched them wide-eyed, pure all alive. Connie ignored him, slapping Armin on the back. We did it. Armin pouched. Your plan was a success, Connie continued. Then he turned to the gathered trainees, addressing them all with a broad grin. Everyone, that Titan's an abnormal. It's slaughtering all the other Titans. It's not even interested in humans. If we play our cards right, we can all get out a hero alive. We'd use the Titan, someone asked in shock. Jean could barely believe what he'd heard. He'd rely on a Titan's help? Are you crazy? And the Mikasa stood face stoic. It doesn't matter that it's a Titan, just let it rampage here for as long as possible. Realistically, that's our best option for survival. The monster outside bellowed as if to confirm her statement. He knocked the head off a smaller Titan, trampling on its nape as it went. Another. It's okay, Connie assured them. That Titan's stronger than average. They can't take over the building while it's rampaging outside. I think it's worth a shot. Naruto nodded. The others turned to him, only now registering his presence. It's you, Connie exclaimed. One finger pointed dramatically at Naruto's face. Armin was surprised by the look on his face. Mikasa nonplussed. Naruto, nice to meet ya, he greeted, to which the others replied with their own names. Jean grimaced, seemingly warring with himself over the outrageous thought of having to rely on a Titan. Fine, he relented, let's hurry and resupply on gas. They all moved further inside HQ. Naruto lingered for a second, then brought his hands up into a familiar cross-shaped seal. A shadow clone poofed into existence. Keep an eye out here. If that Titan goes down, let me know. He left the clone with its orders, then followed after the others. They reached the room with a lift that led down to the storage room. How many of them are down there? Jean asked the nearest cadet. We counted 7, all 3 to 4 meter class. What do? We can't use our 3D gear down there, Connie said. Yeah, going down there is suicide, Marco agreed. They were at a loss, unsure of what to do. They'll go. They all turned as one to face Naruto. What, didn't you hear what Marco just said? It suicide, Connie said. You don't have any gear either, Mikasa pointed out. Don't worry, I can handle it. How are you sure about this? Jean cut off. Base said if anyone else had said it, he would have said they were being arrogant, but Jean had seen what the guy could do. Yeah, was Naruto's reply before he went for the lift. Wagon, he's gonna die. Connie, Mikasa, and Armin were all watching Jean with varying degrees of incredulity. I don't think you need to worry about him, guys. Rainer spoke up. Yeah, you were with us, so you didn't see it, Sasha added, but that guy's crazy strong. Physical strength doesn't matter against the Titans, Armin said nervously. Without gear, there's no way of taking them down. Have you forgotten these past 3 years of training? Jean shook his head. It's not that for us it might be impossible, but Armin, that guy after you and Connie left to get Mikasa, he came out of nowhere, started killing Titans left and right as if they were nothing. Thou played on their faces, but Jean kept on. He used these the texts. They were like nothing I've ever seen before. They were looking at each other now. Maybe they thought he'd gone mad, that the pressure of their first encounter with Titans had finally gotten to him. It's true, Sasha said. Kept jumping from building to building so fast that I could barely keep up next to them. Some recruits, including Berthold Ryanair and even Annie, were nodding their agreement. From below came a sound like something heavy impacting the ground. Building shook just enough for them to feel it beneath their feet, then came more in rapid succession. followed by the minute sound of hissing smoke started rising from between the crevices in the wooden floor. That steam, a recruit mumbled incredulously, just loud enough for others to hear. A final crash, and it went dead silent. The tension was palpable. Then the steel cable holding the lift started moving. It was coming back up. When it finally stopped, Naruto stepped out. He was covered in Titan blood that hissed as it evaporated, steam rising from all over his body. They watched him. Shock silence. He gave them a thumbs up. All done. The Naruto POV. The Titans in the storage room were small enough that he could cut out the entire nape with his enhanced para. Kanai combined with shadow clones. It had been a breeze when he'd come up again. The crowd had gone silent. It came to him that he was probably like something out of a fairy tale for them, a human more powerful than any Titan, though they didn't know the extent of his power. If Naruto were to be honest with himself, he secretly enjoyed the awe and amazement in their eyes every time he applied his shinobi training in Konoha. The shinobi arts were common, and even non-shinobi populace outside of Konoha were accustomed to seeing shinobi, though not as much. After letting others know it was safe downstairs, he left to check on his clone, and the situation outside it hadn't flared its chakra any nor dispelled, so that meant the abnormal that it fought its own kind was still alive. In all this time scouting outside the walls, he'd never encounter any Titan interested in anything but eating humans. He wondered what its motives could be. The trainees refilled their gas, eyes no longer defeated and fearful, but alike with newfound hope. In one corner, Rainer, Connie, and Annie sat together in a small huddle. How much do you know about that Titan? Rainer asked. Not much really, Connie answered, other than that it's an abnormal and that it doesn't seem to like its own kind very much. But shouldn't we discuss that after we're safe? Rainer smiled tiredly. True that. Let's get out of here alive first. Mikasa, Sasha, Armin, Marco, and Jean were already near the lift discussing their newest ally. They were joined a moment later by the remaining members of the top 10. Which point they started the lift. You mentioned he used some sort of attacks, Jean. What did you mean? Armin asked. Curious. I don't really know myself. He'd shout something, then before you knew what happened, the Titan would be dead. Armin raised an eyebrow. He would shout something like what? Jean rubbed the back of his head. I don't know. I couldn't understand a word of it. Was it in another language? Mikasa spoke up. In another language? What do you mean? I haven't ever heard anyone speaking anything other than the common tongue. Do you know any other languages, Mikasa? Marco asked. Mikasa shrugged. My mother was Oriental. She taught me some words in their native tongue, but I don't remember much. While I never knew there were others, Sasha marveled. Berthold decided to continue from where Jean had left off. We also saw him leap from one building to the next with extremes. He was fast, too fast enough to stay ahead of us at all times, and at the same time be able to react to anything in his surroundings. Yeah, Rainer crossed his arms. He saved some trainees back there. He doesn't have gear, but he has those small knives that glow blue, sometimes sharp enough to cut through the Titan's skin. But how Armin uttered their color was wrong. He couldn't be iron, bamboo, and that's the only metal we know of that's strong enough to inflict lethal damage to Titans, not to mention how short they are, Marco added, though his speed probably makes up for it. What do you mean? Connie was a little lost. Well, I can't really explain the physics of it, but it's like when you swing at something with a club, as opposed to just punching it. The longer range of motion allows for more power, Marco explained. His blades are shorter, so he'd usually have less power, but he moves faster than we do, so it more or less balances out. Connie Maldonado in understanding. Finally, the rattling of the steel cable ceased. Having arrived at the top after a flight of stairs, they came out onto the large open roof. Immediately the sound of Titans grew louder. Something was moaning in pain, and there were other sounds. It sounded eerily like flesh being torn right off the bone. They approached Naruto, who stood at the very edge, peering out close enough to see what was happening. It was all they could do not to gape. What the that's they're eating it, Naruto said, sounding disturbed. Titan that had previously been single-handedly demolishing the others had been pinned back first into a tall brick building, overwhelmed by a swarm of Titans. Can't it regenerate? Armin asked. Naruto shook his head. It can, but they're not giving it any time to. The rogue Titan had one 14-meter gnawing at its right shoulder, one slightly smaller tearing into his left arm, and a litter of even smaller, pudgier Titans feasting on his upper body from stomach to collarbone. They'd never seen something so vicious in their lives. Whenever a human was eaten, it would normally be over in a single bite, hopefully, but this was a prolonged torture, like a feast. Tawny looked a bit green in the face. Sasha closed her eyes to it. Marco felt as if his legs had turned to lead. Mikasa bit her lip. I thought that uncovering the truth about that Titan might help us break free from this hopeless situation. I agree, Rainer spoke up suddenly. We'll learn nothing at all if it ends up getting eaten. We should get rid of the ones clinging to it. Keep it alive. Are you insane? Rainer, Jean demanded. We can finally get out of here. Annie spoke up next. But what if we could somehow turn that Titan into an ally? It'd be a weapon more powerful than any cannon. Wouldn't you agree? Ally, do you even hear what you're saying? Jean shot back. Armin, who'd been listening thoughtfully, weighing their words, suddenly noticed another lanky Titan walk into the clearing. That's abnormal. That ate Thomas. As if it had heard Armin, the robe is immediately zeroed in on said Titan. They seemed to flash ominously green and glowing. It gave a guttural growl through clenched teeth, then pushed off the building so forcefully that the smaller Titans who'd been clinging to its front tumbled backwards, falling flat on the ground. It heaved a step forward, crushing one's stomach, then took another. The earth shook with the force of its stride, spider web-like crack forming beneath its feet. The Titans clinging to its arms were dragged along. Fingers and teeth dug so firmly into its muscled flesh that the arms tore right off the shoulders, leaving the robe with no more than bloody stump. Still it roared, pain forgotten, the strength of its voice loud enough to make them shield their ears. What the gene yelled as the rogue bit into the neck of the titan who'd eaten their friend. Reiner looked stunned. Armin could barely believe his eyes. Even Naruto was shocked. The rogue titan lifted the skinnier abnormal, its neck and shoulder muscles strained, veins bulging with the effort. The 14-meter who'd been at one of his arms earlier had regained its feet and hurried after him, but before he could do so much as touch the rogue, it was sent flying into the opposite building. The rogue had wheeled its entire body around the titan and its clutches swung mid-air like a flail. Another of the smaller titans came close, and yet again the rogue swung his makeshift weapon overhead at his next target, crushing it under the force. The smaller titan's head caved in, neck broke, spinal cord snapped. Then when nothing else in the clearing moved at long last, the rogue spat the titan in its mouth, falling limply. Nape crushed one final ear-splitting roar, then it collapsed. They held their breath, stunned into stillness. Hissed. The now familiar sound of titans evaporating was the final cue. They breathed out, shoulders sagging. It was over. Gene turned to leave, though. Used. Now it's finished. We're done here. Let's get going. Is it? I thought titans only died if you destroyed the nape. Naruto said. True, maybe it has a limb. That Armin's words died on his tongue as the flesh on the back of the rogue titan's neck parted. Reveal a person. Naruto squinted. That was a guy around their own age. Red muscles stuck to the arms as the body came up. The boy's eyes were closed, expression peaceful. Is he unconscious? Naruto wondered. Gasping, Mikasa went down, heedless of Armin calling her name. As soon as she landed on the ground, she took off running towards the boy. Is that Iron? Sasha whispered. Mikasa threw her arms around him and Iron's body slumped against her. She brought an ear to his chest, listening desperately. The soft rhythmic thudding of his heart was all she needed. She began to cry, uncaring of who saw her. The others were not far behind. Armin took Iron's hand in his own, eye overflowing with tears. Gene turned to all the charred, disintegrating bodies around them. As this Minaran did all this, as they pondered the implications of that statement, others emerged, gathering around the boy. Is that Aren? Didn't they say he got eaten? I think I saw him come out of the titan's neck. What? No way. The news spread like wildfire inside Walrus. Short time later, Captain Wildman, Sir Kit's Wildman, jumped, then glanced about until he caught sight of the person who'd addressed him. Squad leader Brzezinska. Riko watched him stoically, thoroughly unimpressed at their assigned captain's skittish nature. Honestly, she couldn't fathom what the upper brass had been thinking when they assigned this man to the position. She stifled a sigh. As a soldier, she had a duty to her superiors, and the chain of command was to be observed. I've listened to the reports from witnesses regarding the eager boy as well as Uzumaki. Wildman listened, eyes darting around her. Nervously, he straightened, trying to summon an air of authority. Report. Squad leader Riko cleared her throat, then spoke. Reportedly, the recruits were low on gas and as a last-ditch effort decided to rush HQ in hopes of refilling. Titans threatened over on the building. That's when what the cadets have now dubbed the Rogue Titan appeared, and while it killed its own kind, the Titan didn't show any hostility towards humans. I'm told it was drawn to HQ by the higher concentration of Titans. The plan devised to use the Rogue Titan as a defensive measure to protect HQ whilst the recruits dealt with the ones inside the supply storage was attributed to Ackerman and Arlert, who coincidentally are childhood friends of Yeager's. She took a deep breath, then continued. After resupplying, they came outside. Subsequently found Iran eager emerging from the nape of the Titan, but how that is unheard of. The man's face turned grim and he muttered something about spies and traitors. She mulled it over for a second. Is he a human that can turn into a Titan? A Titan that can turn into a human? If he's a human, why not reveal himself before now? I can understand that he wouldn't want to expose his identity. No one would believe his being able to turn into a Titan. If they did, they would surely see him as an enemy of humanity. But he could have helped secretly as a Titan, and if he wanted to help humanity, why not do so during the first breach? She couldn't wrap her head around it. Still, it's far more likely he's a Titan turned human. Humans we know, but Titans are still a mystery. The full extent of their abilities unknown. Uncertain, she remained silent. And who is this Uzumaki you mentioned? While men questioned, she bit her lip. This case was perhaps even more outrageous than the eager one. Titans killing Titans she could allow, but who'd ever heard of a human killing Titans with their bare hands? Nonsense. The witness reports on this were all over the place, from defying gravity by walking sideways on walls to superhuman strength summoning tornadoes, even flying. The statements regarding him are bizarre to say the least. Though he hasn't turned into a Titan, he's said to have killed many of them as well as saved the lives of some trainees using abilities we've never seen before. Wildman raised a bushy eyebrow. And what abilities are these? Can't say for sure. The only recurring theme is that he didn't need gear to dispose of the Titans, only daggers. Absurd. They must have been seeing things. Yes, the fear must have been clouding their minds. She nodded. Though I can't blame them, not even graduated and already fighting Titans. What should be done with them? Riko asked. Wildman fidgeted hesitantly for a moment, sweat beading on his thin, haggard face. Round them up. Have the soldiers on standby. We shall get to the bottom of this. Naruto POV. Naruto sat on a crate, safe within wall, rose a little distance away from the massive soldiers. After finding that iron guy, everyone had been in an uproar. The people who hadn't seen him fight the Titans were suspicious, and even though those who had were hesitant to rise to his defense, the kid had been dragged off alongside his two friends who'd used to leave his side. Maybe it was lucky, but the higher-ranking officers hadn't seen Naruto in action. That was perhaps the reason why he hadn't been treated with the same hostility. Of course, they had reported Naruto's powers, but it had been dismissed as flights of madness, and that one girl he'd saved had stood for him, so that it probably helped as well. He smiled. He was broken out of his thoughts at the thudding sound of approaching footfalls, a man and a woman leading a couple of soldiers, all with guns at the ready. She was small, hair silverish, almost the same shade as that of Kakashi, and wearing glasses. The man had sunken eyes, short dark brown hair, and was very tall. The difference in height might have been funny were it not for the severe expressions they sported. Uzumaki, right, she said. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Yeah. That's me, I'm squad leader Riko Brzezinska, and this is Mitabi, also a squad leader. Please come with us. Naruto stood. Sure, where are we going? Questioning Naruto was led towards a small clearing near the wall. He'd tried to ask questions, but had been thoroughly ignored by both Mitabi and Riko. The gunmen were no better, actually they were worse, seeing as they'd been tense the entire duration of their walk, lying him nervously, telling him not to make any sudden moves. The clearing was surrounded by a crowd of soldiers, both on ground and at the top of the wall. The crowd parted as they arrived, and Naruto saw Mikasa, an arm and cradling the kid who'd climbed out of the Titan, isolated in the middle. What's happening here? There were hundreds of soldiers in that clearing, and yet it was silent as the grave. No one spoke. Iron Armin's terrified whispered was easily audible. The Armin Mikasa Aran mumbled, one hand coming up to rub his forehead. He must have noticed the soldiers surrounding them too, because he startled suddenly, eyes going wide. What's going on? Iron, are you all right? Can you move? Orman asked hurriedly. Why yes, but you need to tell them everything you know. I'm sure they'll understand. Armin, what's? Aran was cut off by voices in the throng. Did you hear that? He said, I'll kill you. Yeah, I heard it too. He wants to devour us all. Naruto felt as though he had missed something. That's why it was so silent, because he threatened to kill them. Enough, a voice roared, and they all turned as one to face a haggard-looking man, face gone. Deny his sunken. The badge on his uniform revealed him as a member of the garrison, and the decoration on his shoulder that he was a captain cadet. Nigger, you're suspected of acts of high treason. What do you have to say in your defense? If you try anything deceitful or attempt to make a move, the artillery will open fire at you immediately. We won't hesitate. Iron gawked. Harmon gulps. Mikasa watched, grim-faced but steady. Naruto meanwhile let his eyes glide over to the cannon stationed at the top of the walls, only one angled exactly towards the trio's position with two soldiers to man it. I ask you this, what are you, human or Titan? I don't understand the question, the Ren yelled back. Wildman looked taken aback. You're feigning ignorance, damn monster. Try playing dumb with me again, we'll blast you into pieces in the blink of an eye before you can reveal your true form. True form? Everyone saw it. Wildman continued. You emerged from the carcass of a Titan. Aran looked around wildly stunned. We've allowed a creature you to infiltrate Waros, even if you are a member of the cadets as sanctioned by the king. It is well within reason for me to eliminate any risk as quickly as possible. I am not wrong. Naruto had a niggling suspicion that the guy had some screws loose. The armored Titan that took down Wall Maria could appear at any moment. Now as we speak, the very survival of humanity is at stake. Understand, we can't afford to waste any more time or manpower on you. I will bombard you with high explosives if I have to. Wildman finished, voice and face fear-stricken, a finger leveled at them threateningly. Naruto tensed. This guy definitely had it out for them. Why did they bring me here? Do they want to question me too? Am I next or safe? Cause they didn't see me in action themselves. He surveyed the crowd. He could tell they were all scared. The tension was palpable. They honestly believed this kid was a monster, though he didn't seem to even know what they were talking about. It all felt familiar, the looks of fear and hatred, the calls of monster. Aran not knowing, then it hit him. This had been him once in Konoha. The villagers had had the exact same looks in their eyes. It called him the fox and that boy, and he hadn't understood why until Mizuki had revealed the truth. Naruto turned to Aran. He is kinda like me, sir, one soldier yelled. Now is our best chance. We should destroy him while he's still in human form. Mikasa suddenly stepped forward, blades up ready, an expression deadly. My specialty ... is severing flesh. I'll gladly demonstrate it if need be, if anyone wants to experience my technique ... then please by all means step this way. Naruto felt the urge to slap his forehead. Why she thought threatening them would somehow help their situation was beyond him. Armin apparently felt the same way. Naruto, did he seem to be pleading with her? One of the soldiers at the captain's side leaned closer. That Mikasa Ackerman. She was assigned to escort duty with us elite soldiers. Her prowess is equal to that of 100 ordinary soldiers. Losing her would be a great setback for humanity. Naruto listened with half an ear, debating with himself if there was anything he could say to help the trio. A great setback for humanity, as strong as 100 soldiers. He felt a light bulb light up in his head. A second later he was down with the others. Sir, Naruto began being polite to the titles for once. Naruto, he heard Armin's voice squeak behind him. Who's he? How'd he get down here? That was Aran. Naruto ignored them and continued. Aiken vouch for why? Where? Who are you? Wildman blabbered. Badaf. He was staring at where he'd been just a moment ago. Riko, who'd been silent until now, stepped up, her eyes wide. That's Uzumaki. Naruto nodded. Yeah, and Naruto, Uzumaki, please listen to what I have to say. I think you might be making a mistake here. Mistake? There is no mistaking anything. Already revealed his true form. If you say he's not an enemy, then prove it, otherwise we'll blast him back to whatever nightmare he crawled out of. Wildman bellowed. He saved those trainees, didn't he? He killed other Titans, Naruto said quickly. The hands on those guns looked awfully twitchy. Armin, catching on quickly, gathered his wits to speak. You don't need any proof. The fact of the matter is that it doesn't matter what we perceive him to be. What? All men reeled. The crowd was confused. The reports say hundreds of soldiers saw him, and those who were there say they saw him fighting other Titans, and that means they saw him get swarmed by the Titans as well. Armin gulps. To put it plainly, the Titans saw him the same way they see each and every human being as their prey, and it doesn't matter how else you may look at it. That Isn't a refutable fact he finished. Kids got a point. One garrison said slowly. Guns were being lowered. Seeing this, Wildman panicked. Prepare to attack. Don't let yourself be swayed by his cunning. Lies. The Titan's behavior has always been beyond our comprehension. I wouldn't put it past them to assume human form. He's speaking our language in an attempt to deceive us. Don't let their words sway you. They're all traitors. The Naruto eyed the man apprehensively. This wasn't going the way he'd expected, and you, the captain hollered. We've had worry reports on you as well. Who's to say you aren't an accomplice? Huh? Naruto gaped. A civilian running into the worst disaster in human history with no gear or obligation. Why would you do that if you weren't assured of your survival and defending that monster? You must be in league with the enemy. Guns were pointed at them again, and Wildman raised his arm. Naruto knew it was over. I'm left with no choice as the man spoke. Naruto grabbed the almost catatonic Armin in one arm and dashed towards the others, throwing him into Iron's startled grasp. Fire. The moment the words were uttered, Naruto's hands shot through hand seals faster than their eyes could follow, before slamming them onto the ground. Dorioheki. The earth rumbled and the cannon roared. The cannonball hurtled towards them with a deafening blast, but the instant before it reached its intended target was met by a wall solid hardened stone. The impact sent debris flying, accompanied by a cloud of dust that covered the entire clearing. Naruto could hear coughing and confused muttering from outside the dust cloud. What happened? Did we get them? Look at it's a wall, Captain. All squads remain alert. They could strike at any time. Artillery crew, get the cannon reloaded. That was unmistakably Wildman. Naruto turned to check on the trio behind him. A wall. Armin whispered in disbelief. Mikasa was staring wide-eyed. How did you? There's no time to explain. They're reloading. We need to get out of here. Naruto cut in. Mikasa regained her bearings. She nodded resolutely. We can climb up the wall. Algerin. Armin, you get cannons at the ready, sir. Came a shout from above. Blast the traitors. Fire at will. LT. The booming command. Cease all motion. That's enough. The new voice continued calmly. You should really do something about your nervous disposition, Captain Wildman. The dust settled, and Naruto was able to see the new arrival. He was an elderly balding man with a gray mustache and an excessively decorated uniform. See Commander Pixis. Wildman squeaked. Commander Pixis. Wildman squeaked in surprise. Pixis stood straight, watching the curious group of four, each of them looking relieved. Only just arrived, Pixis said, smile never wavering, but I'm quite aware of our situation. I think we could at least do these youngsters the favor of hearing them out. But Commander Wildman tried to object. Captain Wildman Hicks has cut him off. You go organize our reinforcements. I'll handle it from here. Naruto walked slowly beside the others, following the man who'd introduced himself as Pixis, the commanding officer responsible for the southern territory, the man in charge of the defense of Trust District and given full authority over preserving humanity's most vital remaining territory. He seems all right, Tom, and willing to listen, but still commands the respect of all his subordinates. A big step up from Captain Scaredy Cat. The man had asked them to join him for a walk, and now here they were atop the wall. Nope, not any of you, Pixis said, suddenly peering down from the edge of the wall. Ho, what's he being eaten by? A Titan? Wouldn't be so bad if it was a sexy lady. One. Naruto's sweat dropped. Never mind, he's a weirdo after all. Then the commander began asking questions about Iran and his ability. For starters, Iran told him what he knew, explaining how he'd been eaten and subsequently somehow transformed. He also spoke of a memory of his father and key around his neck, something he'd remembered while being questioned. After he was done talking, the commander hung thoughtfully, one hand stroking his gray mustache. So visiting this basement should clear everything up, correct? Yes, Sir. Iron replied. At least I think so. For the moment there is no way to validate all of the claims you've made. For now, I'll just catalog them in here, Pixis replied, tapping the side of his head. With that said, I can usually tell difference between the unctuous and the sincere, which is why I personally guarantee your safety. Iran exchanged smile with Mikasa and Armin. And now on to you, young man. Uzumaki, is that right? Naruto perked up at the mention of his name. Oh yeah, that's right. Pixis watched him, eyes almost glimmering with unmasked interest and curiosity. That was a most spectacular display down there. Tell me, was it truly you who created that stone wall? The others were also watching him now. Open interest. Naruto nodded. Now I have a few questions. Firstly, can you turn into a Titan as well? Naruto shook his head. No, Pixis, and he shared a long look. Then the commander moved on. Secondly, are you from outside the walls? Iron. Mikasa and Armin's eyes all widened slightly, most likely not having thought of that possibility. They watched him in anticipation. Naruto bit his lip. Yes, they all gasped except the commander, who eyed coolly. Why, you're from outside the walls? Armin asked, stunned. There are people alive outside the walls. The Ren was gaping. Mikasa was shocked as well. Fixes held up a hand stemming their questions. Seeing this, Naruto continued. It's true that I come from another place with other people, but I don't know if any of them are here in the outside world. Pixis raised an eyebrow. The trio looked confused. But if you lived with others outside these walls, surely they have to be out there. Unless, Armin began, unless they've been wiped out by the Titans. Mikasa finished somberly. Naruto shook his head. No, that's not it. Well, he began, unsure of how to explain the circumstances of his being here. This is gonna sound crazy, but just hear me out, Naruto said, watching their puzzled expressions. I think I'm from another world. Pardon? Fixes asked, befuddled. Did he just say another world? Irene asked his friends. Yeah, that's right, another world, Naruto said. And how did you come to this conclusion? Fixes questioned, not hiding the doubt in his voice. The others were also watching him as if you were Insane faces disbelieving for one. Naruto began. There are no titans where I come from, never even heard of them, and humanity wasn't anywhere near the brink of extinction. They were surprised at this, but that's not all. I come from a place called Elemental Nations, which is basically one big land mass filled with loads of country and surrounded by ocean on all sides. The trio perked up at the mention of the ocean. Whether there were any other continents outside was mystery, but the main reason why I think I'm in a new world is because of chakra. They blinked. Chakra, what's that? Iron asked. It's a sort of energy that the people in my world possess. To demonstrate, he stretched out an arm, palm up. Slowly the wind picked up, pulling in towards his palm and coalescing into a small swirling spherical shape. They gasped, eyes wide. Hesitantly they inched forwards, eyeing the light bluish form of his miniature racing gun. Their ends finger inched towards it. Don't. Naruto halted him. You'll get hurt. Iron let his hand fall. This is chakra. Pixis queried. People in my world, all living beings, actually have this energy within them. You can't live without it. Armin caught on. We don't have it. Naruto nodded. But how would you know that we don't? Armin asked. I can't sense anything from you. At their questioning looks, he explained, knowing how to wield it comes with the benefit of being able to sense the presence of chakra and others, though I'm not a good sensor. Pixis ran a hand through his mustache. Armin spoke up. Then how did you get here? Naruto rubbed the back of his head. I don't really know myself. My memories are just blank. Before I woke up here. Woke up where exactly? Pixis asked. To the east, in the forest of giant trees outside wall rose about a year ago. The others seemed disturbed by this. You lived outside alone with titans? Though of course not. I only roamed outside for a couple of days, then I found this place. I've been trying to find a way back home but had to learn your language first. So you do speak another language? Armin exclaimed, remembering his talk with Jean earlier. Can you? Pixis lifted a hand and arm and fell silent. As fascinating as this all is, we are in the middle of a crisis that could turn out disastrous if we don't act with all haste. The previously forgotten tension from the day's happenings came back full force. They were still under attack by titans. Trust remained unsealed and walrus could be breached at any moment. In all honesty, when I heard about the breach I was unsure of how to avert the worst outcome. Pixis began, then turned to eye Naruto, and he ran with a twinkle in his eyes. But now it seems fortune is on our side. There is an opportunity. We have the means to retake trust, to claim our first victory against the titans. Naruto and the others exchanged stunned looks. Retake trust? They ran, whispered, eyes wide. How, Sir? Naruto. Pixis said, can you make a stone wall big and strong enough to seal the breach? Their heads snapped to him, evidently not having thought of that themselves. Naruto went slightly at their hopeful faces. I could, he began, but it wouldn't last. Pixis raised an eyebrow. Why? Not really good with earth-style ninjutsu? Then what? Iron mumbled. Techniques. Naruto amended. The energy we use chakra can be manifested as elements. People usually have an affinity for one or two if they're lucky. My main one is wind, but I'm all right with water as well. Though he was immensely curious about chakra and these elements and what they entailed. Pixis kept on the topic, leaving the details for later. So how come you can use earth? Anyone can use any element. It's just harder if you don't have an affinity for it. It takes years to master an element. Naruto explained. The point is that my wall would be stronger while I'm channeling chakra into the jutsu, but once I release it, it'll lose strength, and I can't make it thick enough that those titans wouldn't be able to break through without the chakra coursing through it, especially when it's not connected to the wall for leverage. Hicks hum thoughtfully. Then I might have another solution. Armin spoke up, breaking the thoughtful silence that had descended. Seeing as he had Pixis's attention, he continued, I've been thinking about it since we found out Aran could turn into a titan. He pointed down into the city. They followed the path of his finger, and their eyes landed on an enormous boulder situated far in town. Using his strength as a titan, Aran could lift the giant boulder. We could use it to block off the wrecked gate. Iron startled at that cherry that he eyed. The massive stone shaped like a sphere. Could he do it? Carry that? A thing? It seemed impossible, and he didn't even know how he'd turned into a titan in the first place. Brilliant. Fakes his praise. Naruto mentally agreed. He's pretty smart, quick thinking, kind of like Chica. While he does that, I can make a wall to prevent more titans from coming inside. Fixes sat on his haunches in front of an already kneeling Aran. What do you say, cadet? Eager. Say, sir, that hole, do you think that you can plug it up, son? Aran voiced his doubts. Well, I don't know. It's possible, but at the moment I don't understand my power in more than you do. I'm not sure how I turned into a titan the first time. It's just I sort of feel irresponsible giving you an answer, cause I don't really know. Yes, of course, my apologies. I asked you the wrong question. Pixis chuckled as if he'd said something silly. Then he turned serious, all traces of mirth disappearing. Will you do it or not? Which is it? Naruto listened intently. That was a heavy burden Pixis was placing on the guy's shoulder, but considering situation, Paren seemed to be fighting an internal battle before his eyes hardened, steeling himself. I'll do it. I will. I'm not sure if I can, but I'll do it. Fix it nodded firmly. Well said. He stood and walked over to the edge. Officers, assemble, he shouted at the soldiers below. We have a plan to flesh out. Armin looked around at the others, surprised. Wait, we can't actually be moving forward with this as our linchpin strategy. It was just something I tossed out there. I was thinking the same thing, Iron said, but he seems like a guy who knows what he's doing, has it all under control. Like we can't see the forest for the trees, but he got a bird's eye view, and I don't think there's any other way to close that hole. Naruto added. Armored Titan could appear at any time. Mika's is supplied. Either way, though, we've got a whole other problem to address before we can get your plan off the ground, and my gut tells me that the commander is keenly aware of it. The rent continued. Would-be Titans aren't our only enemies. Time is of the essence, young soldiers, a voice spoke up behind And they turned to see Pixis now flanked by his officers. The fate of mankind now rests on your shoulders. Among the crow of soldiers, Marco stood still in the midst of a mass gathering of soldiers they'd been ordered to assemble and told that they'd soon be informed on the operation to retake trust. There was a cacophony of mutterings and whispers amongst the soldiers around him, all with fear or just simple resignation etched into their faces. Retake troth? Are they kidding? Someone up top's lost their marbles. How do they expect us to shore up the whole? Is the brass that out of touch? It's a damn suicide mission. Lost cause, no doubt. Defending Walrose is the only real option here. Jackasses. Some bureaucrats pushing this through for the glory. The day's events had taken a toll on everyone, and it showed next to him. Daz whispered something. I can't go back. Then he snapped, hands coming up to tear at his hair. We'll die. We're all gonna die. I just want to see my family. What the hell does? Calm down, Marco. Whisper shouted. Stop it, you're being too loud. A haggard-looking garrison official turned at the commotion. You there? I heard that. He rounded on them, furious. Are you planning on abandoning your duty? Yeah, that's right. There's nothing to be gained by this mass suicide mission. Daz screamed. Marco watched, fearful for his friend. How dare you? The officer snarled, hand reaching menacingly for the blades at his side. I'll have you know I have the authority to execute you on the spot. Fine by me. As reached for his own blade. I'll take it over being fed to titans any day. Larko grabbed Daz's arm and forced it back with one hand while shaking him vehemently with the other. Get a hold of yourself, Daz. No, get off. Let go of me. Vaz shrieked hysterically. Damn, he's lost it, Marco thought, struggling. He looked around pleadingly, hoping someone would come help bring Daz to his senses, but all he saw was despair and a sickly kind of desperation. Maybe they hoped others would join Daz in his rebellious behavior and as a result be able to sneak off during the chaos move. Marco looked up and saw Jean pushing the throng. He felt a surge of relief. It is quit your damn whining and stop shrieking like some sniveling coward. Jean grabbed as roughly tone harsh. Des seized his struggles after a while. Thanks, Jean, Marco said, breathing heavy. TCH, what's the commander thinking? Jean said absently, looking up at the wall where Pixis was standing. Marco voiced his doubts. Don't know. I can't think of any way we could hope to retake trust. To do that we'd need to seal the hole, but how would we even go about doing that? Jen exhaled tiredly. No clue. Atop the wall, Naruto and the others trying to devise a strategy. Naruto stood next to Mikasa as Armin explained his idea to Anka and Gustav, two of Pixis' most trusted officers. There's no need to fight the titans, you say? Gustav questioned us. Sorry, I know it's not my place as a recruit to give orders. I amend. No disrespect, Armin apologized. Gustav shook his head. It's all right. Just go on with what you were saying. All right, Armin gulped nervously. See whatever else is going on around them. Titans are generally drawn to large groups of people if enough of us are collected in the corners far away from the breach. He pointed at the map. We could lure the titans out of Iran's path. That way he won't have to slow his pace while we fight off the other titans, and since the titans will all be in one area, we can pick them off with cannon fire without incurring causalities of our own. He swallowed, mouth feeling dry. Now I'm not suggesting we leave or end defenseless. That'd be too risky. We'll need a small squad of elite soldiers to act as his bodyguards. Naruto watched, impressed. He could probably give Shikamaru a run for his money in Shobai. He thought amusably the plan was good and well thought through, better than anything he himself could have come up with in such a short time. Armin turned to Naruto, slightly worried. Naruto will be sealing the hole momentarily until Iran arrives with the boulder. I know we'll be baiting the titans away from the gate, but we should still have him guarded. Actually, Naruto said, I have something that might help. They all turned to him curiously. Something that might help? Anka asked with a furrowed eyebrow. Rather than telling, he decided to just show them with a single hand seal. He intoned, Cage Bunchin no Jutsu. A puff of smoke. What the hell? What happened? Their startled exclamations died down as smoke vanished, leaving them wide-eyed and mouths agape. Tell what that's impossible. Next to Naruto stood another Naruto. The clone lifted a hand in greeting, the same way Kakashi always did back in the days when he was late to their gen in meetings. While they were shocked silent, Naruto decided to explain, I can create clones of myself. They can be pretty taxing to make and dispel. After a solid hit, Naruto punched the clone and it burst into small. The thing is the energy I use in making the clones are divided up equally amongst them. Since they'll be keeping the titans at distance with long-range techniques, they're gonna need more energy than usual, so I'll only make like 10 of them. Some can guard me while the rest go out into the city. Gusts have snapped out of it. You can make more. He regarded Naruto with a measure of awe. So did the others. Yeah, I can, but the more I make, the less useful they are. Like I said, the energy I use distributed evenly among them. More clones mean less techniques and more vulnerable. If I were to make 100, they'd probably dispel from tripping over their feet or being hit by a stray pebble. They nodded slowly. Harmon was still pondering the implications of such an ability. All right, then let's have 2 of you. I mean them. Stay with Iran and the rest go after titans, Armin said, fumbling a little with how to properly address the clones. Naruto nodded. Half Anka and Armin perked up at something behind him, and Naruto turned to find Pixis approaching with Iran trailing slightly behind him. The commander turned to Anka. I trust the plan's complete by now. Anka nodded. Pixis beckoned for Iran to follow. They approached the edge of the wall. Iran to Pixis right, overlooking the mass of soldiers gathered below. The crowd was restless. Fear wafted off them in waves. Pixis cleared his throat. Attention, the command bellowed, and the clearing went still. Naruto could feel his ears ringing. I will now elaborate on the plan to Retake Tross District. Our primary objective is to seal the hole in the destroyed gate. Yes, you heard that right, Pixis went on. Down below there were whispers of incredulity. As for how it will be done, allow me to introduce Canada Renegar with G. Marco Emir and the others. Ior and Connie. Gabe Seal. Is that even possible? Marco wondered out loud, shocked. He's the successful product of top secret scientific research. Pixis continued, fantastic as this may sound, Cadet Eager possesses the ability to create and control a Titan body at will. Even more shocked, gasps him. Connie turned to Emir, was staring up grimly. Each, hey, am I just stupid or is Commander making absolutely no sense right now? Shut up for a bit, stupid, Emir responded without taking her eyes off. Around, recall the massive boulder roughly a league from the gate. Having assumed his Titan form, Cadet Eager will pick it up, carry it over, and seal the hole. A role will be to protect him from Titans while he moves the boulder as humanity finally learned to control Titans. A soldier mumbled, "They're lying." Daz screamed, tears in his eyes, "and not gonna be drawn into sacrificing myself for this crap. What do you think we are? We aren't pawns for you to sacrifice." His outburst started a chain reaction. A human weapon? What a load of horseshit. He's obviously lying. He thinks we're fools. He's basically telling us to go die. I'm leaving. Berthold watched as the man turned heel and stalked away, followed soon by others. "Me too, and me, I'm out of here." Mass desertion. One of the officers acted quickly, grabbing Daz and yanking him back roughly. "Wait, you'll get the death penalty for this." "Off. I don't care. I'm spending humanity's last hours with my family." Bez shouted back, "This is bad." Ian cursed, "Yeah. We don't do something, there'll be chaos." Rico agreed, face grim. Next to them, Wildman rounded on the deserter's face, purpling with rage. "Ready yourselves to die, traitors." Next to Pixis, Naruto observed the mass dissension with a hint of a scowl. This was about what he'd expected here. They were threatened by cannibalistic giants with extinction, their families and friends endangered, and this was their response. They were soldiers. For Kami's sake, they needed to act like it. He could understand being afraid, could even empathize with them, but were they really willing to let those beasts go after their friends and family without even trying to stop them? This was what they'd all signed up for. The entire purpose of their military was to defend humans from Titans, but when confronted with the situation, they ran away without hesitation. In Konoha, every single shinobi from Genin to the Hawkeye himself were all prepared to die defending their home. Even the civilians would do their part in defending the village. He felt the need to say some choice words, but kept it to himself. It wasn't his place. "This is my decision," Pixis yelled, bringing everyone's attention back to himself. "Anyone wishing to leave will, by my personal order, not be charged with treason." Wildman gasped. "Once you've succumbed to the fear of Titans, you can never fight them again. Those who have seen a Titan firsthand will not be expected to revisit such horror, and anyone wishing their parents, siblings, and loved ones to experience that same horror should also leave." It was as if time had stopped. All the soldiers who'd been running off suddenly froze in their tracks. One moment was all it took for the implications of the commander's words to sink in. Then all those fleeing turned back. Now think back to 4 years ago, namely the operation to retake Wall Maria. Officially we labeled it reconnaissance, but in fact, as most of you probably know, it was little more than a purge, a thinly disguised exercise in popular relation control. We knew this in our hearts, of course we did, yet we turned a blind eye. Naruto knew about the operation, of course, and the results, and though no one spoke about it, he'd guessed the true motives behind it. There was simply no way that the government was delusional enough to believe any number of untrained, unarmed civilians on foot could ever hope to win against Titans. The reason no one speaks of it is because sending them to their deaths allowed us to survive. All of humanity, including myself, bears the weight of that sin because so few escaped Wall Maria. There was never any open rebellion, though. What about now? If Walrus falls, the sacrifices will be more than just 20%. The territory within Wall Sina won't be enough to support even half the remaining population. Fix's voice was grave but hard, leaving no doubts as to what he meant. If humanity falls, it won't be because we were devoured by the Titans, it will be because we killed each other. We must not die within even narrower walls. He spread his arms pleadingly. "I beg of you to die where you stand." Naruto felt a grin making its way onto his face. Pixis sure knew how to motivate him. He bellowed, drawing out his blade, "I'll execute you where you stand." Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. And comment down your opinion on this video. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one.